speak moron as well as you, but let me try.
What the hell is supposed to do, you moron?
It's a moron. That's not against the law.
Gun! You fucking moron!
Dressed up like Batman.
Because he is Batman, you moron.
What are you, a fucking moron? Huh?
You moron. Drop dead. Moron.
Whoa!
Up here, you morons.
Stepping morons like yourself.
Me down, you moron! Hey, moron!
It's all about incest.
And masturbation. Oh no, sorry, masturbation was the other one. That was the lighthouse, wasn't it?
Aye, that was that.
Masturbation.
Listen, if Rob Pattinson wants to have a wee tuggy or a Little Mermaid doll, let him fucking be.
I just don't need to show us it.
Exactly. Well, hello, fellow morons. Excuse the voice that's coming from me here. I'm really suffering from man flu.
You sound like a big smoker.
What was that, sorry?
You sound like a really heavy smoker. It's like
I have 50 fags a night before we've even started. No, it's got to the point, guys, and this is when I know it's really, really serious, that I'm not even having a beer tonight. I'm just going to have having some water. A big change in my life, this. But thank you very much for tuning in and listening to us, guys. We are going to be talking about Burnsies picks for this week, which we will come on to in a little minute. We did, just briefly before we came live there, reminded you guys of what the films were for last week that we scored. We're going to see if Burnsy can remember, because he's literally just asked me, Burnsy, what were the 2 movies for last week? And bonus points if you can tell me the scores.
Well, I can get everyone because I actually took a note out of my computer, so
Check.
I'm going to get it right.
Well, you shouldn't have told him that. You should have just rounded it off.
No, when I got the scores, they would have been a bit dubious of how good my memory was. So it was Boiling Point, which I think I thought was pretty decent. And no, or did you not like it, Daniel? I can't remember. In fact, it was a 3.1 overall, so that suggested to me it was middle ground for everyone. And then Back to the Future 2, which Sean loved and everybody else shat on, I think. Which it's fair enough. But just I'm a bit worried about these ones because I've got a feeling that a few might, maybe I'm wrong, but I've got a feeling that a couple of might have really not enjoyed one of the films.
I'm very intrigued about these two and what everyone's thought, because
concerning.
No, I'm really interested in what you've all got to say about these.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Burnsy, you've led it on really nicely. Introduce your films for this week, and you just take it away whenever you're ready.
Okay. You got a preference of what we're doing first?
Your rodeo this week, mate. Your rodeo.
Right. So the first one I picked was Silver Linings Playbook, and that was I hadn't seen it, which will come as no surprise to anyone. But I was looking through Chris Tucker's other films that he'd done, and I knew he wasn't a big part in this, but I looked at a brief synopsis of it, and I thought it sounded quite interesting. And the second one was The Wrestler, which I was wanting to find some kind of sports film. So I chose that, which was also something I hadn't watched, because I was originally going to go with something I had previously watched, but I knew that all yous would have seen the films I was looking at too, so I thought this might have been a wee bit different. So I'll start on the one which I'm least concerned about, in terms of what you think. So I'll start with The Wrestler. So I thought it was quite interesting because although it was focused on wrestling to an extent, there was also a lot of other things that were going on in terms of Randy's like health issues, his relationship with his daughter, and also the romance angle with Cassidy, and the work struggles he had, which you could imagine when you see some stories that come out with wrestlers when they do retire, you can see that being sort of quite similar to real life in terms of some that go in a downward spiral. They don't know what they're going to do when they finish up, and they really struggle with that because obviously they're just used to being in front of big crowds, getting all their fans, and that's obviously the main thrill they get in their life. I thought the actress who played Cassidy, I thought she was the best in the film, but I thought Mickey was pretty decent as well, and they also came across quite believable, I thought, in his character. So I think it was quite good casting. The scenes in the supermarket I thought were were quite good in terms of you could see from his expressions that the struggles that he was having and how he wasn't used to that kind of workplace. The wrestling, it was the very start of it. Like I struggled to watch part of it when there was it was really gruesome. I thought in terms of the barbed wire, the staple guns, and the amount of blood in that really put me off. I was finding myself looking away from the telly because it was just too much for me. Like I know obviously it's not. I know it's a film and it's not real and whatever, but just seeing that kind of stuff, I'm just like, it just went over the top for me.
Well, see that guy, he is an actual deathmatch wrestler. I think most of the guys in it, like, did you notice Arthur?
Yeah, I
I
noticed.
did.
But I'm sure
I never seen Little Jimmy though.
Sorry?
Never seen Little Jimmy though.
No, never saw him. Arthur.
I thought that I wasn't sure going through the film whether maybe I'm just heartless, but I didn't really feel much sympathy towards Randy. Like, I don't know whether that is how it's meant to come across. Like, I know I get it was lonely. I did feel sorry for him in that part of it, but like, he's obviously abandoned his daughter when she's been really young. He's not made any effort like to keep in touch. Like, I know people could look like he might have moved to the other side of the country or whatever, but he's obviously not even phoned. I didn't know where she stayed. He didn't have. Well, I don't even know how he actually managed to know where her house was right enough, because at first it was as if he didn't even have a clue where she was. Obviously meets up with her, but then after he gets rejected by Cassidy, he decides to go and get smashed and snort cocaine and misses the meal with her. And then it was as if the film was giving off the vibe as if you should feel sorry for him because his daughter's like turned her back on him. And also when Cassidy turns him down a couple of times, I thought you could see she was quite torn throughout the film though, in terms of she did care about him, but she was also making the point because her job as a stripper, she couldn't go there basically. And he seemed to take everything just to heart. So I was kind of like, I didn't really feel like not the end of the film in terms of I wasn't as if I was disappointed that he got his big moment in the rematch that he had, but I don't know whether if a film was made you supposed to feel really sorry for him and compassionate. I didn't really get that watching the film, but at the same time, I didn't feel as if I wanted anything ridiculous to happen to him. It's like it wasn't as if I wanted him to collapse in the ring, but it looked as if he could at one stage in the film. But yeah, it was good for me. I don't think any sort of sport films are going to be anything that blows you away. But I thought it was written quite well because, as I say, it seems as if it was quite a realistic, and you can imagine other people that retire from any sport, I guess, that have been at a high level. And the only thing I guess it didn't really do was they didn't show, this just came to my head just now, but they didn't really show his downfall. Like it just sort of started when he's in this caravan or what he was staying in. You didn't really know how he got to that stage, which might have been something they could have added. But yeah, that's my thoughts, and I'll see what Daniel thinks.
I love this film. Like I genuinely think this is brilliant. I know what you're saying about the sympathy aspect because he's not a good man, but
no.
For a bit of disclosure, I'm probably easily the biggest wrestling geek in this little group here. I know that the rest of you are all quite casual, but I'm one of these folk that's listened to hundreds of hours of podcasts about people's careers and all this sort of stuff, and
yeah,
it feels so realistic. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If this was called the true life story of fucking, I don't know, Jake the Snake Roberts, it would have been believable. Do you know what I mean? And I think that what you see him going through, which is a combination of drugs, right? So it's not just steroids, it's painkillers, it's fucking cocaine, it's like uppers, downers, everything that you need, right? And it's the biggest drug for him though was the success and the crowd and that high that you can't ever replicate.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just trying to relive what he was 20 years before, and he's never going to get there again. And I just think every moment of the film is just getting further and further away from him. There's loads of really good moments for me, like see when he goes to the signing, like the fan autograph signing, and you see him just slowly looking around at what he is. I mean, I don't think he didn't see himself as like an over the hill has been. old man. But then he goes there, and all his colleagues and compatriots that he wrestled with coming up, they're all old men. The guy's got like the fucking piss bag hanging out the bottom of his ankle. And like,
See, I thought he did because like obviously he's had. I went to say is like how he had obviously got taken into hospital and that, and then you can tell he's got struggles of getting back to fitness. I thought it was more just to show him as if he was struggling. Obviously, just wanted that last hurrah, I guess it looked to me, but maybe that's different to what I got a different opinion for that.
And that's good. That's why I love this film. I think it's a really well-made movie that you can take a lot of different things from. Like from that point, I saw it as him suddenly realizing, oh shit, I'm one of these people. I mean, I'm just a fucking washed up old man who's had a heart attack who can't do anything, and he's seeing there's nothing going on in his life. And it was after that they went and asked for the more shifts in the supermarket, if I remember correctly. But it's all his own doing, but I still feel really sorry for them. I mean, I think this is one of those big things that a huge percentage of wrestlers, I'm saying a huge percentage, but an unusually large percentage of wrestlers end up committing suicide, die really young, through things like heart attacks, through all the stuff that they put in their body. When you read about any story of any wrestler like this, none of them have relationships with their families. None of them. Like, they've got abandoned kids all over the place. And I think that comes from, I think the way they're portraying it is when they keep going, because they kept saying, oh, there'll be scouts from the show there. And they're going back to his headline event, the 88 or whatever. I'm assuming that they're saying that's the fictional version of WWE that they're talking.
Yeah.
So if he's been part of that at the height or his peak of his career, he was probably on the road 300 days a year or whatever. But yeah, no, I think it's a really good movie about desperation, about losing your dreams. Like, even though he must know deep down that he's only wrestling in front of 80 people in a school fucking hall or a bingo hall or some shit, he's still going to get the tan. He's still going to the fucking gym. He's still got all his gear. He still goes and gets his hair done, and he's got no fucking money to live. Like, all of his money goes into trying to make it back to the big time, and he's never going to get it. I love the ending as well, because you could take it as, does he die in that thing? Because they don't show it. I took it that he died, but then other people that it was his triumphant moment, and they leave it at the right moment for me that this is the end at one way or another. It's either going to be his last match and he's going to retire and he's going to go and be with his stripper and have a relationship with his daughter and everything will be good. Or, because his heart was going during the match, he kept nearly collapsing. And I think the way that, because it's Dan Aronofsky that makes this film, it's the same guy that made like Black Swan and a lot of other good movies, and even just like the little noises and like the sharp noises when you see him like holding at his heart, it made me feel fucking like, oh shit, like there's shit to do. And then my interpretation came from it that he probably died after jumping off that top rope, and I quite like that. But no, I think it's a great film. I think it's really well made. I think it's really well acted. I think Mickey Rourke, I remember there was a big uproar that he missed out on the Oscar for this. I do think it was a fucking brilliant performance. I think he's perfect for this. I don't think anyone else could have done it like him. It's fucking brilliant. Because he looks like a beat up old wrestler, because in his own life he did have this. It's similar to his real life. And I think that's why he suits it so much. If you don't know about Mickey Rourke, but he was a big movie star in the 80s. And then he went fucking mental. And he ended up doing like bare knuckle. He ended up doing boxing. He had like a 10-fight boxing career. His face all got fucked up, and then he tried to get surgery to fix his face and all this sort of stuff. And I think it's quite similar to his life. It was like, this was like a redemption for Mickey Rourke. He'd done nothing for years and years and years. And then after this, he got the Iron Man gig, and he got like, he's now a well-known name again. But no, I like this a lot. I'm a big fan. I was very happy when you picked it. This is probably the 5th time I watched it, and I still very much enjoy it. So
just to jump in here, whilst I've had all my coughing out for a little minute. Usually we would come to Hunter to discuss some trivia, and he'd drop little tidbits of knowledge in there, but we've not even addressed the fact that he's not even here tonight. Hunter, we do apologise. The guys forgot about you, mate. What can I say? So Hunter is taking a wee annual leave tonight. I think he actually has to do his real job, what he actually gets paid some money for. But I thought I'd just jump in, the little discussion you boys were having there regarding the ending of it here. I seen this as part of the trivia. It says, during the director's AMA on Reddit, Darren Aronofsky revealed the fate of the ram. He does, in fact, die at the end of the film.
Oh, does he?
Confirmed.
See, I was just going to add to that, Daniel, when you said at the ending, it's like there was one, I thought either he died or he lived, but obviously his daughter's cut him out and Cassidy's left him like during the match. So I was like, she's obviously left him no interest because he's, after her begging him not to wrestle again, he's just went ahead and done it in any case, which was obviously, but just when you were talking there, it's like, it made me think more about it in terms of, like you say, if you're traveling that much, then fair enough, you might have relationships obviously with your family still and your kids and your wife and whatever, but out with that, you're not going to be able to have loads of friends hanging about, which was obviously when that he finds comfort in going to shows and meeting the fellow wrestlers and maybe getting smashed or taking cocaine or whatever, because he's not got any friends he can just phone up. So I do actually get more now after you saying about how it shows his loneliness. I think it was more just the fact of how he treats the two women in his life's a bit rank, really, and how he has that argument with the stripper as well. And just because he starts becoming really aggressive to her when she won't give him a dance after him rejected him, and it's just like, it's not really a nice way to it's not a nice way you would treat anyone, no matter what you were asking them. Just it looks as if he was going to square up to hit her at one point.
Yeah, he's definitely a good man. He's a man with, what's the way that the Americans term demons? He's got his demons.
Yeah.
That's another good point for the loneliness was, it actually made me feel really sad, especially the first time I saw it, when he gets the wee local kid to come in and play Nintendo well. And it's like an old fucking game for like days, and he's like, oh, do you know what Call of Duty 4 is? And he's like, what? Like, it doesn't have a clue. The wee guy won't even sit and play with him anymore. He's just on his own. Like, fucked. And he's
Good point.
But Sean?
It's the first time I'd ever seen it. Obviously, I used to be right into wrestling. I've not watched it in about 5-6 years or whatever, but I'm surprised I never watched it when it first came out, because it is something that obviously I was interested in at the time. I thought Mickey Rourke was absolutely brilliant. Just everything that you've said, Daniel, about like he looks like he used to be a wrestler, like he just like all beat up. He looks like he does look like shit. Let's be honest. And obviously that does make sense for all the kind of years of trouble that he had, or kind of hard times that he fell under in the 90s and whatever. Just want to touch on the end, and like the way I took it, like I took it that he died as well, but like when he was on the top rope, you could obviously, he's had the heart pain through the chest pain throughout the match, but when he's on the top rope, he's about to do whatever it is he was about to do. When he jumps off, he kind of smirks a wee bit, smiles as if he's content, like he knows he's going to die. That's his content that he's going out doing that.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing I took for it. But I'm delighted that they didn't actually show him die and collapse and all that, because it was fairly obvious, like when he had the heart attack, that he was going to go wrestle again. And it was obvious that there would be complications for that. I'm just glad that it never went down that route. He's collapsed in the ring and all of that kind of stuff. I thought they'd done it really well, because I was kind of expecting them to go down that route of watching him collapse and all of that stuff. So it was quite nice to see them do it this way and leave it at least open to interpretation at the time. I don't know when the guys confirmed that he died or whatever, but I did like that. I thought Aunt May, I'm going to call her Aunt May because I can't remember the character name and the actress name, I can't pronounce it, so I'll call her Aunt May. I thought she was really good as well. I did like the kind of, when they were on screen together, they had quite good chemistry. Similar to Daniel, I had a lot of sympathy with him about the film, and I know that I really shouldn't, because he wasn't really a nice guy, but the scenes with his daughter and stuff like that, like I can't relate to it at all, but like it was quite. I really felt for him, like when he first went to see her, he's obviously phoned up, and then I believe was it a partner that answered the phone.
Yeah.
And then obviously like she just wants nothing to do with him, and like the kind of wee look in his face, he played it really well. And then when he goes back again with the presents and stuff, and she's obviously like, you could see she's a bit grateful for the coat and stuff like that, and then There was one point where they were out, and then like he's greeting and all that, and then she just kind of chased after him a wee bit, put her arm, kind of linked arms, and then rested her head on the chest. I don't know, I got kind of drawn in by that, and I was like, that's quite nice. And then
that gave me a wee emotion just you describing it there, Sean. I think it does.
I was, and it's like for something that like I can't relate to, and it's just, don't know, it kind of made me think like, oh, I would hate to, if I had a child and then I wasn't there for them or whatever, I would hate to be in that position and put them through that kind of thing. So it was quite it came across really well on the screen. Is what I'm trying to say.
Like, in those scenarios where her life has probably been that little run through she's had from there, where he appears out of nowhere, he showers her with a gift or two, she remembers it's her dad, she wants to give him the benefit of the doubt, and she does really try, and then he just lets her down again and again, and it's just a vicious circle that is really difficult to deal with, because there's loads of people that can have strained relationships with like a parent, and it becomes a hard job to actually bring yourself to it. But from my own experience, that when a phone call happens out of the blue years down the line, you take the phone call and you have a really pleasant conversation, and then nothing happens for months and months and years, and it's just, again, you get to that point, you're like, fuck, but you'll still answer the phone. Do you know what I mean? Like it's really well done in that aspect, because I took it as she was just so done with him, even at his first bit that he appears with her.
Aye.
Just kind of going on the back of what Burnsies said as well about the blood and stuff like that. And the first kind of, what was the first match, basically the first part that showed you wrestling, where he's wrestling the guy with the mohawk.
Yeah.
And then he takes out the blade and he cuts himself. Like, he actually did blade himself. Just a wee bit of trivia I'll throw in since Hunter's not here, but he actually did blade himself. So that was like actually him cutting himself. It was fucking hard. Like, it was gruesome to watch. And I found it interesting to watch him like actually get the blade, break it in half, cut a bit off, put it in tape. Because I always wondered.
That's how they do it.
I'd never actually I probably could have found it on the internet right enough if I wanted to, but I never actually knew that that's how they do it. It just kind of was quite kind of, I'll say, cool to see, but I didn't enjoy watching him actually stick the blade into his fucking skull. I'm a bit squeamish like your Craig here, and I had to look away. And the bit where with the barbed wire cut his, it was fucking, like, I couldn't look at that. It was absolutely minging. And that boy, I'm assuming this is the boy you were talking about, who's like a deathmatch specialist. That was a hard watch. That, like, I don't know. The older I get, the more squeamish I get with blood. Like, even thinking about it now, my legs are going weak. Like fucking sitting down. But no, it's something that I thought I would like. I'm glad I watched it. Glad it was picked, and I'm glad I liked it. So I guess thumbs up for me.
Love that. See, just to go back to one of your points, that guy, I'm sure he just died like last month in real life, like the
deathmatch guy.
The deathmatch guy. I can't remember his wrestler name, but I'm also pretty sure, I've not looked this up in the trivia, but I'm sure I remember it from the time. But they actually did. He did train in wrestling. Like, you could tell that he looked like a wrestler in the wrestling match, if you want to call it that.
They were quite well choreographed and stuff. I've always said about sport films, like, it's, and we talked about this with, what was the boxing one we watched? The
Fighter.
The Fighter. Boxing's the worst for me. Any boxing sport film, the actual scenes with the boxing are utter pish. They're just so over the top, so bad. This, I never got that feeling at all. I actually never even thought about it until you mentioned it there. So like, it was really well choreographed, and it actually felt like you were watching somebody wrestling. Like, it never felt over the top or anything like that, which is, again, really good, and what you would want for a sports film. What I would want for a sports film is to feel like I'm actually watching it.
Aye. I think we made a point of White Men Can't Jump doing a great job, and I think that's probably the best representation. I forgot about this. And I think in terms of accuracy, and if you're into watching wrestling, it was spot on. Do you mean, like, to the point of the blading, the taking off the turnbuckle, like, all these little things, you can tell that when they've made this movie, they've done loads of research. and they must have had consultant wrestlers and there's actual wrestlers they've got that are on the changing rooms and all that. Like we said, you see R-Tooth and that guy's an actual wrestler. But to tie all that in with an ultimately very poignant movie, such a skill, man. Really like it.
It was also quite cool, like see them in like the dressing room beforehand. They're obviously, I know it's like a small, as you said, like a school gym or whatever, and they're all just there and they're just talking about points of what they'll do and stuff like that. Again, like it probably is really, really accurate, and it's something that like I certainly haven't really seen that much, so it's kind of cool to see them because they just discuss wee bits. It's no like what I used to think when I was a wee boy, that it's like they rehearsed the whole 20 fucking minutes like 4 times or whatever. It's just wee bits, and even when you're watching the actual wrestling itself, I was kind of listening out for like wee kind of verbal calls and stuff like that. And I don't know if it's meant to do this on purpose or if I've just kind of had my ears playing tricks on me, but you can almost kind of hear like wee kind of snippets, but you can't quite make it out as if you wouldn't, and that's what it would be as if you were sitting like fucking ringside as well.
Exactly.
So I would like to go back and actually just kind of listen to it again, but I think you can hear just wee kind of spot calling and stuff like that, but they've done it so that as if you were sitting in front row that you shouldn't really, and you can't really hear it, but you can hear something, but I can't even quite put my finger on it. I don't know if they've done that intentionally or if it's just, as I said, me just hearing something that isn't actually there. But I would like to think that it was intentional, so I'm going to believe it was, and just go with that.
I think it was because that's what happens. Like they sort of call spots as they go. I think it was a bit more clear in the first match with the Mohawk. Like it was you could sort of see it a bit more. But my favourite bit for the change room when you mentioned that and they were going through their matches was they were saying, "Oh, work the neck," but someone else is like, "No, we're working the neck," and that's a real thing because you don't want all your matches to be similar in a show. So it's like, "Oh, I'm going to work in the leg," and it's like, "Okay, you take the leg, we'll take the neck," and it's like, fucking, I love that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Don't know why that just came to my head just now, but because I remember that there was something on WWE recently. It was like, I think it was that Reigns was meant to be fighting somebody, and he was going to put them through a table, and then was it Nia Jax wanted to put Lana through a table for about the 24th consecutive week, but she wasn't allowed to do it because Reigns was using the table that night.
Yeah.
And obviously, like you said, just when you said about working the neck and working the leg or whatever, then that was obviously all hearsay. It could be all the nonsense I've read, but that was an article I read which was a similar idea to what was in the film.
I think that's pretty accurate because I suppose if you wanted to go and watch the wrestling, you don't want to see if somebody gets put through a table and 6 matches in a row, it's not going to be exciting in the main event. So just keeping it fresh. But
guys, I'd definitely highly recommend jumping into the Amazon account and watching that Heels, the TV show based around wrestling. It's very, very good. What you're describing about the background of what goes on, what the process and stuff, it shows a lot of it. It was a very enjoyable TV series. I fired through the first season very quickly.
I'm definitely watching.
Do you want the Hunter's review?
Go for
it. I'll leave the score out just now when we're ready for it. But he has written outstanding performance from Rourke in this a proper Indian summer before it feels like he faded away again. Felt like you really felt the struggles he was going through during the film. Enjoyed the scenes where it looked like he was filmed on a vintage style camera, as not only was it highlighting at times the dark points and not so glamorous highlights of his current life, but also felt like it may have been the sort of technology that was around when he was on top of the world. The end scene.
Wait, just pause there. What a good fucking insight for Hunter, by the way.
I was actually going to say is that we should just get him to do reviews because he talks a lot more sense than he has when he's on the stream. If you got a review for me, it would be a lot worse than that. I wouldn't have anything as good as that.
Mine would be 4 lines. That was it. And then he goes on to say, the end scene cut to black was great too. Left the audience with the question, did they finish the match or did it all end in the ring? Sorry, or did it all end in the ring having one last match with his greatest opponent? And that's his review. So he enjoyed it.
He's done well there. I'm just going to jump into Steely's spot for trivia there because there's quite a few interesting ones I wanted to bring up. So Darren Aronofsky revealed that Mickey Rourke was his first choice to play Randy the Ram Robinson, but the studio wanted somebody else.
Johnny Depp.
Not Johnny Depp.
It's going to be someone that's a bit. They've got to be in decent shape, I suppose, or could get into decent shape. This is why you've just made a really good. That he's done such a good job in this. I can't imagine anyone else playing it, but I think Sean's got an idea.
Please don't say Hulk Hogan.
So no, but Hulk Hogan basically spent the whole time that this was getting bounded about coming out, claiming that he was offered it when he wasn't.
Oh, fucking no doubt, man. Honestly, that boy's a fucking tumour.
So
so fucking delusional. Do you know what I saw in an interview with him? That he claimed that the George Foreman grill was supposed to be the Hulk grill.
I've heard that.
But he missed a phone call or some shit. And then they've all come out and said it was absolute fucking nonsense. He just lied about it like he does everything else.
Oh, he's a fucking wanker.
Well, he went on the Howard Stern show claiming that he was offered it.
Put it this way, Kel, if it was Hulk Hogan that actually played him, I wouldn't have picked this film to watch because I couldn't bear him being on my screen. So
I just wouldn't have watched it. I would have just taken it off.
Well, I don't think he's going to be in the right mindset for who it was, but it wasn't Johnny Depp. But who is the versus Johnny Depp character? Who's versus?
I was going to say Nicolas Cage.
I think I must have read that, but I kept my mouth shut because I knew what. I must have read it if I was going to get it right. So
I was going to say that, but I didn't think he would. I just couldn't imagine him doing that.
Not at all.
There you go. So yeah, Nicolas Cage was the one that the studio wanted to do it, but the director fought and ultimately won to get Mickey Rourke in instead. It would have been such a different movie. Scott Siegel, the actor who portrayed a drugs dealer in the film, was then arrested a few months after the film's release for steroid possession.
Clearly, did you see them?
I thought that was funny.
It's absolutely massive. Is that the bald guy?
it must be
fucking huge, man.
Maybe that's why he was that worried about getting his guns. That you know when the scene he's like he was sort of saying, "Oh no," and then he gets as if he gets roped into it because he knows he's going to get lifted for possession.
I bet you some DEA agent has been sat at the cinema with his family to go and see that, and he just looked at that scene and thought, "I'm going to fucking see that boy."
that would make a lot of sense. The old wrestling photos of the Ram in his heyday are actually doctored photos of which former wrestler?
Hulk Hogan.
No, I know what. I think I know this one, but I think
let Daniel have a guess.
Oh wait, I've got a guess.
Go.
Jerry Lynn.
Jerry Lynn.
I know why you've made that guess, Sean, because he's got the same hair.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
What a guess that is, man. That's a great guess.
It's wrong, but
right.
So is this someone that's actually from the 80s?
This is an actual wrestler that have doctored the photographs to make it look like he was Mickey Rourke.
Who jumps off the top rope and all that back then? Dynamite Kid.
Jimmy Snooker.
Wasn't Jimmy Snooker. Burnsies, tell us who it was.
So this could be, you could laugh at this because I don't even know what the wrestler was like. Was it Randy Savage?
No, you're completely wrong as well.
No.
It was Lex Luger.
Was it?
Oh, aye. A wee bit.
You were close.
Is he no built like a fucking steroid pal who got lifted though?
I think he was when we knew him in the 90s, but I think earlier on he wasn't. He ended up in a fucking wheelchair because he always steroids.
Is he still alive?
Yeah. I mean, he's a shell of a man. But
aye, because I picked him in the wee bet that we had years ago.
Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that.
We can talk about that. It's a thing.
We talked about it a few weeks ago, David, on the stream as well, though.
Oh, the Deadpool.
Aye.
Listen, we still call it a stream after months of no actually streaming, so. Right, and just one last piece of trivia there, a little wholesome one. The film reportedly moved wrestler Roddy Piper so much that he broke down and cried after a screening.
Doesn't surprise me. Roddy Piper.
A lot of wrestlers.
I was going to say Roddy Piper's one of the folk that could probably relate to this. Like, have anybody's watched the resurrection of Jake the Snake?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
It's excellent.
I highly recommend it.
It's basically this.
But real life, It's definitely this. It's basically this for real life.
Oh, was that maybe where I was getting confused with Kill, that this film's sort of been based on Jake the Snake's life? Is that maybe where I've got confused? That maybe that came after.
You're just flinging out old wrestlers' names and hoping they stick there, to be honest.
Oh, I meant, when I said Randy Savage, I meant to say Jake the Snake. I didn't even get the right wrestler. Just realised that.
You fucking moron.
I wasn't right.
I just want to take this moment to wish Jake the Snake Roberts well, because I read today that he's struggling very badly with his health. So
we know he's listening. So
Jake, I know you're
best,
listening.
So I'm gonna have a coughing fit, so I think we should move on.
Right.
Scores.
Do you want me to kick off with the scores then? Or have you got anything else to add, Denise?
Well, I know you don't have, you're struggling a bit with your voice, but at least give us a couple of lines of what you thought of the actual film, Kyle.
Right,
it was good.
Oh, he's there, thank God.
Cool.
No, I've seen this multiple times, and maybe even close to double digits. You see this film, I think it's a really good film that I could watch over and over again. And like I say, it prompted me to then go and look at what other wrestling stuff that I could watch. I was watching old Jake the Snake, Randy Savage matches. I then watched that TV show as well. It sucked me in. It was quite an emotional film. I felt like just tearing up at loads of different scenarios. I think it touches a lot of points about the difficulties of what's ultimately a selfish guy struggling to maintain his relationship with his family, struggling to get a relationship with somebody that he's clearly in love with, can't keep a job, can't work a job. It makes it seem, when you watch WWE as a kid, it's such a glamorous life, right? And people grow up wanting to be the next John Cena, wanting to be the next Randy Orton, without realising how small of an opportunity that is to even get close to that. And you touched on earlier as well about how he's got no money, but he still gets his tan done, his hair done. He's still buying drugs to like deal with the pain, drugs to deal with the growth, drugs to make him look a certain way. And it's like, he can't actually live his life because he's trying to build a career and trying to build this personality, but then he's also got to be that personality, kind of be himself. It's quite it just opens your eyes a little bit to what the reality could be for something like that.
Yeah.
It's not just sticking on a sparkly suit and go out and you have 60,000 fans cheering you every other night as well. Yeah, brings you down to earth, this film, a lot, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is as much as I could talk without coughing.
Yeah, well, Kill keeps coughing and drinking. I'll give my score. So, I'm going to give it a 3.75.
Oh,
you next, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm going to make a prediction now that you're the lowest out of everybody. I'm going to give it a 4. I've been torn between a 4.5 and a 4.75, but us discussing it is cementing my 4.75. I love this movie. Sean?
I am going to agree with Hunter. So me and Hunter both score this a 4.
You got enough in you to say one number?
Do you know what it is? I keep forgetting that I've got my mic muted. It's really good for a podcast. Yeah, a mute participant. I'm going to go a little bit higher than Sean and Hunter to come with a 4.5. Let the mathematician get to it.
That's an overall 4.2. I did think I was going to be the lowest out of you all, to be honest. But I'm glad you all enjoyed it.
Good pick. A 4.2, that's fucking high. This is high.
That is high.
4.2 now puts this film joint 16th with Fight Club.
Wow.
I'd say that's a bit fair, but well, I could see it fair in terms of all used, but I enjoyed Fight Club more than this, which was part of my reasoning for my score. So
I'll tell you, still, of all the sports films, Moneyball is yet to be topped.
That's only because you boosted it.
Moneyball. No, just in my opinion.
All right, sorry, I thought you meant in terms of scoring.
No, in my opinion, I've yet to watch a sports-based film that I've enjoyed more than Moneyball. So I look forward to the next.
I'm going to look for. I'm going. I was going to say, Kyle, sports movies isn't something we don't have on the actual wheel, is it?
Don't think so.
I think
but no, I'm
film
trying to
strategy
think
would
of sports
like
movie
to
that Sean likes better.
I think you didn't put that on to begin with because you thought I was going to pick sports films all the time if it came to me.
Well, that's just got three sports movies in our top 21 movies.
I'll just move on then to Silver Linings Playbook so that Kel doesn't have to talk anymore. So this was the one that I was worried to see what your reviews are for this one. So I thought this was class. I thought Jennifer Lawrence was incredible. And I would go as far to say that's probably the best since all the films I've watched. This is the best acting performance I've seen.
Wow.
I thought like Kel's face is just in shock. But yeah, I just thought that whenever, obviously at the start of the film, she's not really on screen to begin with when they set it with Pat's character. And as the film progresses, she is on screen pretty much the full time, well, pretty much every scene, I would say, which definitely added to it for me. Some of the lines I was trying to think when I was taking down some notes after it. I couldn't think of any specific lines, but she has when she has many rants and things like that throughout it. It's so believable in her character, and I felt really drawn in by her and her emotions and how she was obviously having. It took her a lot to open up to Pat about the death of her husband. But yeah, I thought she was awesome in it. De Niro was. Obviously, I read the synopsis before this when I picked it, but I thought he obviously had a really small role in the film, but I thought he played that perfectly too. And it needed the extra NFL part to it. I didn't really understand some of the wordings they were using when they were talking about the gambling, because obviously it's completely different to if we're putting bets on with football. I've no interest in NFL at all. So like when they were talking about, it wasn't laying, it was something similar to that. I was just like, it went right over my head, but it didn't really matter. It was more just that part didn't really interest me. But if you just had it based on Pat's demons with having to go into the mental hospital with bipolar and coming out, and it's just all about him trying to get back with his ex-wife, then it would have just been too much about the same thing. They definitely needed this sort of subplot to it. And it did do a good way to me of showcasing his like reactions in certain circumstances at the start, where it's like he's smashing the window, he's going off the boil at some people. And I just think Bradley Cooper was pretty good at it as well. Not anything on Jennifer Lawrence, but it wasn't as if I was. Sometimes I'll say I watch a film like, prefer one far more than the other. For he was pretty decent in it as well. The scenes where it was the characters of Pat and Tiffany together, like I found I was laughing quite a lot throughout it, although it was sometimes we were talking about serious subjects, it was quite light-hearted because they were ripping each other quite often as well. Like from the first meeting when they're talking about the medication that they're on, it's obvious they're not laughing about it at that stage. But you could tell from that early on that was obviously going to be the main part of the film. Whereas I originally thought that it was going to be based all on the more of the ex-wife, and she was going to maybe come in halfway through. She only turns up in like not the final scene, but the final scenes that are there, obviously at the dance. And if they brought her in before that, it definitely wouldn't have been as enjoyable for me. Also, like when they had this argument at the diner, when it starts off with him obviously like finding out about how she was like sleeping with her in the office and whatever, and he's just like wanting to probe her about it constantly, and it turns out that she goes crazy at him. But also they seem to have this relationship where they've got each other's back. Like she obviously defends him, and then when that creep turns up at her door, which he did look like a proper creep as well, like the way he was acting and whatever, like that was probably another kind of good casting. It was obviously, if you did it like someone, it was obviously like a lot older guy, and the lines he was given was basically just like, I'm coming to sleep with her. and
Aye.
obviously what she'd been doing. It's obviously going through that time in her life where that's what she was doing, and that was like her life 24/7. It sounded like, to be honest.
Or you can say it. She was being a slag.
She called herself like a slut in the film, so I didn't think I needed to say it because it was a line. Not to say take yourself off mute for that bit as well. But then I don't know about you, maybe I'm just a bit blind, but like in picking up things in a film, but like I didn't expect Tiffany to be the one that was writing the letters back. That came as a surprise to me, and also that the family were in on it from the very start in terms of trying to get him something to concentrate in his life on. And
I'll just before you move on, I didn't call the family sort of being involved in any way, and I'm still a bit confused about that. If that wee bit where they were on the kitchen, they were talking about him, but I definitely called straight away that she wrote the letter, like 100%.
Yeah, I guess it's like you could tell early on that she obviously did really like him, and obviously her go-to, like at the very start, was like try to get him to sleep with her. Because probably that's obviously what she's been doing for however many years since her husband had passed. But you could tell, like, through the way Jennifer Lawrence did it, you could tell that obviously she was like a person that she obviously had like massive struggles in the past. Maybe not even just with her husband passing. It was maybe more to life that she didn't really know maybe she didn't really know what she was doing with her life. They didn't obviously go into depth about her personal life or whatever. But you could tell there was real genuine emotion there from her, and there was points throughout it that you could tell that he was struggling. Pat was struggling in terms of, because he's obviously at first he's desperate to get his wife back, but he's getting torn by her and how their relationships progress. It seems as if it's something that was obviously a friendship, and then they've obviously had feelings for each other for the very start, which comes out towards the end. And I thought the scenes at the dancing, whatever they were spotting too, I can't really fault it. It's like I felt like it was one of those films that had been taken on a full journey. And you'd said about how this sounds like I'm going to sound like really soppy here, but like I felt a lot more emotional watching this than I did like the wrestler, in terms of like wanting a happy ending and seeing their characters. And although it kind of is a happy ever after ending, like it worked perfectly for me. Like it was as if I was like, and I think that's because both of the characters came across so well that you were actually wanting them to be together. And because the relationship seemed that strong. But as I say, I thought Jennifer Lawrence was incredible. Like I couldn't fault anything, and I think it was everything felt so believable when she was. You felt how she was she had a guard up, and then she was letting somebody in, and then at first he sort of takes a piss at her a wee bit as well, and then obviously she sort of falls for him. But no, I thought it was class. I'm worried that somebody's going to come in and shit all over it though, which I'm thinking it's going to be Daniel, I think. So I'll pass over to you, and you can bring me down to earth.
So no, I actually very much enjoyed this. I'm going to go against what you think. No, I thought it was good. I genuinely thought this was a really good film. I'd sort of avoided this because I thought it was going to be wanky pish based on what I'd read about in the trailers and stuff like that. But I kind of got drawn in right from the start, and I don't know. It felt like a really interesting movie to me. I didn't enjoy it for the same reasons as you brought today. I didn't enjoy it for the emotion or like their relationship particularly. I thought it was a really good portrayal of mental health issues in a movie, which you pretty much never see. It's always like craziness is always, or people, well, it's usually the word crazy is used a lot in movies, and it's always portrayed a very particular way that folk that have got a mental health issue are fucking off the fucking planet crazy. Whereas it felt real. It felt like these are real people, and this is folk that you've met in your life have got these sort of issues. Like I was like, for me, for example, like I've got ADD, which is one of the things like Chris Tucker's character mentioned, right? And I can relate a wee bit that I spend a lot of my life putting a lot of effort into not saying exactly what I actually think, and responding to things maybe and having to take a wee step back. And I know that younger me, you'll probably know this yourself, how confrontational I maybe was when you first met me compared to maybe how I am now. It's taken me
Still a wanker.
Still a wanker, obviously, but that's my personality. That's not my mental health. But I could really relate to little moments where you could see them having to take an extra second and then respond, or the times where they didn't have that second, where everything's a bit frantic. That's when you say the thing you're not supposed to, and you accidentally say something that maybe hurts someone's feelings, or you take something that's a step too far. And I'm bad for, and this is what these ones were bad for as well, is once I'm into it, you all know as well, once I'm into an argument, for example, I'm never going to stop until someone else stops it, if you know what I mean. So I totally found that really, not so much relatable, but it felt real. I thought it was cool. I thought it was really well filmed. Chris Tucker's character was good. The support cast in general actually were brilliant. I think that's what probably makes this, having all those little bits in the background, because they're all mentally unwell. Like, his dad's got severe OCD, like severe. He's deluded. He's fucking mental. The mum obviously is an enabler. Do you know what I mean? She fucking does all the stuff for Robert De Niro's character. She makes some of the specific food, because you always notice that she's making the same food. Right?
Never know that, no.
So she was making, I think it's crab cakes and something else, but it's always the same stuff that she's always saying, I'm going to make this. And it was always the exact same food. He had to have his wee TV remotes lined up the same way, and he had to have all this sort of stuff. And he was really struggling as well. So I think a lot of this is like your nature versus nurture. Is he mental because his mum and dad are a bit mental, or is it something that is in him and his own? And then you've got the opposite with her, whereas I think her situation is a lot more accepted by her family, and it seems to be she's a lot more functional compared to him, whereas he's taking it far too far. But to be fair, if you come home and you see your wife in the shower with one of your colleagues, that's what's going to happen. What happened is exactly what would happen in 90% of those situations. And you wouldn't blame him for it. It is what it is. I felt really sad for him when he was desperately trying to cling on to this woman that made him feel like shit, that he was fat and he had to lose this weight and he had to do all this stuff. And ultimately she was cheating on him. I really liked the moment where he went up to her and he whispered in her ear, but you never got to hear what he said. Loved it. Really good point. And then they also did it with him and Jennifer Lawrence afterwards, and you never quite got to hear what he said. Slightly, just a couple of minutes later, which I loved. But I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this. Nothing all that exciting happens. It just sort of flowed. It just kept going. It was a really quick 2 hours. I think we spend a lot of time sometimes complaining about the length of a film and it's too long or the zagged bits out, but there was nothing in this that I felt should have been cut or it was unnecessary. I was shocked by how much I enjoyed it. It was good. But
I was just going to add, if that's right, Daniel, is just that when you mentioned about just what I remember is the dad and son, is like they touched on that when he was giving him a lift to the NFL game, because I can't remember what it was. I think his dad he'd been bad for like pitting football, and then I think it was son that says like how he's like, oh, maybe we're not that dissimilar after all. And then when you said about the cooking bit, as I remember when you said whatever, I can't remember what you said that she was cooking, but as soon as she said it, I was like, oh, I remember that. So it must have been more than once that she said it throughout the film.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I mentioned about the whispering just made me remember is like the use of the letters throughout it was quite interesting as well, because I always referred back to it. And I think as well the mental health stuff is like, although it wasn't constant throughout the film, because it wasn't as if they just had it all at the start and then forgot about it, but it was more subtle when they were interrupting each other and saying things they didn't mean and apologising, like the two main characters, Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper. I think that was good as well, because it was as if they didn't need to keep on pointing at you saying these characters have got issues. It was more just like it was showing they can be normal, like you say, without having to delve far too deep into it. Sorry, I just thought I'd add that when I remember, because it was something that you had said there, Daniel. When you go, sorry.
That's all like before Sean comes and fits all over it. Go on then, Sean.
I didn't like this.
That little deep breath tells you everything.
It's there's been a couple of films not like this, but this was kind of different in terms like it was obviously like because they both struggled with mental health and both had issues and stuff like that. So in that sense, it was different. But this is more my problem than anything else. But I just get really bored when I watch like romance type drama films. I can never seem to get into them at all. I thought Jennifer Lawrence was really good in it. I thought Bradley Cooper was horrible in it. I really didn't like Bradley Cooper's portrayal in this whatsoever. I thought it was over the top. I thought that, and maybe he was supposed to, but I thought his character just came across like as just a dickhead. And I know that obviously you made the point that he's caught his wife cheating with one of his colleagues, who, from what I remember in the shower scene, looked like an older man, like quite a bit older. So obviously that's going to do stuff to you and stuff like that. It just seemed very, very, very loud. And but was it bipolar he had? Mm-hmm. That was one of the things that he suffered from. He was bipolar. I don't know. I just thought that it was overacted at points and stuff like that. To kind of really hit home the fact that he's got bipolar and he's going through all this stuff. It just felt quite over the top at points. On the flip side of that, I thought Jennifer Lawrence's portrayal was really, really good. Obviously, with the stuff about her husband dying and stuff like that, they kind of left that kind of. It was obviously mentioned quite a few times. Obviously, when they first met. Although I did find it quite kind of funny, like when she's walked in for that, when he was round at the other couple's house for dinner, and he was getting told, like she's coming round, but he's dead. I can't remember her husband's name. Was it Tommy or something like that? And he'd asked the question, what happened? And straight away when she walks in, he's like, how did your husband die? Like and he was just very, very like to the point, very like stone faced saying it. And I felt quite awkward watching that. But it's just no my kind of film, and I just seem to have like a barrier up where it's like in the first 10 minutes I can tell if I'm going to like something like that or no, and this just wasn't for me at all. I just felt it quite over the top at times. But I really didn't like Bradley Cooper in it whatsoever. And I like Bradley Cooper, like I do, like other stuff I've seen him in, I think he's really good. But I couldn't. I just didn't feel it with this. I thought it was quite over the top, if I'm honest.
Fair. This is
that would be
too smoothly. We couldn't have, because that would have been like 8 good reviews in a row if you'd liked it. So we can't have that.
No, I can't have that. But before we go into Kyle, do you want me to give Hunters or do you want to give yours, Kyle? Or?
I just wanted to slide in there on the Bradley Cooper, because the expression that each of the boys showed there when you said that you didn't like him, I was right there with them, because I felt he was excellent. Like, he was obviously portraying someone who's suffering from a mental health issue, and I felt like you could see that looking at him, and that impulse response he gives when she walks through the door and asks about the husband was because there was nothing else in his mind at that time. He could not ask that. That was probably plays into the disorder. I'm assuming. I don't know how these things work. But I was just checking, because I know that he was nominated for an Oscar for this, because it was the only film for that year that had both female and male nominated in leading roles. But I wanted to have a look to see who he was up against for that year. So that year, so Bradley Cooper obviously for Silver Linings Playbook, Hugh Jackman for Les Mis, Denzel Washington for Flight, Joaquin Phoenix for The Master, and the winner was Daniel Day-Lewis for Lincoln. What a year that is, eh?
That's a strong year.
Strong.
I went to the picture to see Les Mis and walked out halfway through it. Oh, it's fucking... I also
went to the pictures to see that, and it was the worst thing I've ever seen at the picture.
Fuck me, man. I genuinely would. Fucking brutal. But just on the back of what Kyle said, obviously, I just felt that it was too, in terms of like, look, I've got mental health issues. This is what it was too like just like constant. He was doing it constantly, and it was constantly driven home that he had these issues, which I suppose obviously is the point. And it is important that that there is these kind of films. And this was just like what, 2008, 9. This came out. Is that right?
12, I think.
12. Was it? I thought it was like 2009. Well, there you go. But see, even back in 2012, see stuff like mental health. It was nothing like it is today. It was hardly, from my memory anyway, in 2012, it was more something that people would have been ashamed about. And so it is nice to see like films like this tackle these kind of issues, because now obviously people are a lot more open about it, and rightly so, and it is taken much more seriously as it should be. Whereas even back in 2012, I don't know about you guys, but what age was I? That was 10 years ago, so I was 22. I don't recall it being so open and people being welcoming to others, kind of saying and opening up about their troubles and stuff like that. So I suppose it's a film ahead of its time in that sense as well.
Good point, actually, because I suppose 10 years ago, it really has been the last maybe 4 or 5 years that it's come to the forefront publicly. And it's talked about all the time now, whereas even though it's mad to think that was only 10 years ago, it really wasn't, was it? Again, that's, I suppose, what I was mentioning earlier on, that normally in a movie, the portrayal of someone is just that they're fucking crazy. And so you make a really good point there, I think.
Thank you.
Well, there was an alternative actor that was originally cast in the lead role before they decided to change it and go with Bradley Cooper, which would have turned this into a whole different film. Well, I'll spare you the thinking process, but Daniel, it's your favourite Mark.
That would have been shite. Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg was cast originally. It was Mark Wahlberg beat Vince Vaughn to get the role originally.
Vince Vaughn?
Yeah.
I think he would have been all right, actually. I think Vince Vaughn would have been all right in that.
I can get on board with Vince Vaughn. It came out of left field there, but I think he could have done well in this.
I he would have,
Underrated actor, Vince Vaughn, by the way. I like Vince Vaughn.
So do I.
There you go. Guys, I'm going to give it short and sweet with mine before you go to Hunters, because we're going to start calling.
Oh, God. We lost them.
Someone a coughing fit.
Apologies. I'll keep it short and sweet. I really like it. Really good. It's a second watch for me for this one. I feel like I watched it when it first came out and didn't really understand it, because I've seen it pop up loads on Netflix and all these different places, and I've been like, did I like that or not? Like I can't remember disliking it, but I can't remember overly liking it. But on a rewatch, paying attention to it, not as passionate as Burnsies on it there, but Jennifer Lawrence is class. She's class in everything, but she is particularly good in this. I really enjoyed Bradley Cooper. I felt that they worked really well. It's the little things like he's like keeps the bin bag on him when he's running, and he's got to have all these. He's got to have all these little compulsions. That little bit where he wants to run one way, but she'll only run the way that he's running, and that interaction is dead funny, but also incredibly awkward as well at the same time, because she's obviously got her agenda that she wants to go after him, but he's trying everything in his power to get away because he's so fixated on his ex-wife. He can't see around that. He can't see that there's this other female giving him attention. He's just fixated because of his mental health issues that he's got, that he's going to do that. He's doing his run. It has to be this way. It can't be any other way. And it's just it's a really funny but really awkward scene, that one. Is one that stood out for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, Colin, when you were saying about how he's fixated on his ex-wife, though, he says at the end, obviously from the very start, that he was trying to hide his emotions because he saw her and knew there was a connection. So, like, I think it was more, to me, it was, I didn't spot it at the time, but he was, when he did that, when he gave her the letter, it was as if maybe he wasn't as strong for his ex-wife to begin with. He was more torn, I guess, to begin with.
The way he took that was that he saw reuniting with his ex-wife as him being better. That, do you know what I mean? Like, his focus on being better based on what she was telling me. So he had to lose the weight, he had to do this, he had to do that. And I think when he actually realised and he read that letter, and I think when he realised it came from Jennifer Lawrence, it was like, she actually cares about me, and she's like, she's tried to let me down gently, but she wants to keep me in blah, blah, blah. And I think at that point, seeing his wife was like the closure he needed, maybe. And I like to think the way he whispered in her ear was like, go on and have a good life, like we're better without each other, whatever the fuck you want it to be. And he's realised that chasing after somebody who doesn't want you isn't going to get you there. But aye, good point again.
And I was just going to add, is like in terms of the storyline as well, as obviously like, when he finds out that she's lied and told him the letter was for his ex-wife, they didn't really concentrate on that because they more concentrated his emotional side in terms of what she was trying to do, which obviously in a way it wasn't right that she'd lied to him and got him this letter that he thought was from his ex-wife. But if they went in depth for that, it would have been a rubbish way to go. Like, they were as well just like going across it and him thinking about it, taking it in for like a week, I think it was, before he admitted what had happened. Because if he just blew off the handle at her, it would have just been it would have ruined it a bit, I think, too.
What did Hunter think?
Before we jump into Hunter, I'm just going to jump in with one little bit of trivia that I thought was really funny. Jackie Weaver, who plays De Niro's wife, she tells a story about how they were sitting in the ballroom dancing scene watching it with about 300 other people. And when they were putting up the points and they were obviously doing the rehearsals of it, she kept doing the maths, and the maths never added up to 5. But the producers hadn't noticed, and she went and pulled one of them aside and said, "These don't add up to 5." So it was a very, very last minute change to get the right numbers to add up to 5.
Sounds like me when I'm doing this.
It was exactly what I thought. It's like, fucking, Burnsy gave him 5 numbers and he's way out of place. But just go, I think things like that are really funny, that there can be hundreds of people in a room, directors, producers, and all that kind of stuff, and it's a little detail like that would fuck the whole film if they fucked it up.
Mm-hmm.
So let's bring in the mysterious traveller. So it was texting Hunter during the week, and I'm saying that he might not potentially make it, but obviously Hunter, being well known amongst the group as being the liar, I just assumed that he was wanting a night off. He's not actually away for work. Don't know what he's up to because he's at it.
Just
one liar.
Going into Hunter, just before I read his thing, I'm going to stick up for him because people listening won't know that that's a joke. He's not a liar. He is actually an honest man. So it is just a running joke. It's his nickname. Before anybody.
It's a liar as well. Do you remember how all that came about with the Zoom?
There was a reason why he started getting called the liar, though. We didn't just come out with it. It's because he convinced. What was it?
It was a
party thing.
House party.
House party thing, aye.
Told everyone that people were stealing your bank details and taking deposit money at your bank and everything. And folk fell for it because it came from what we thought was the most honest man in the group. And it turned out it was just a total liar that had been egged on by, I think Daniel was involved in it.
Yeah, that was my plan.
He's involved in most fucking WhatsApp pranks. And go back to the quiz night as well.
The quiz night.
Let's talk the quiz night. The greatest work.
I'm going to call.
Anyway, Hunter. We're going to Hunter's review here before we get sidetracked with quiz nonsense and stuff, guys. Hunter found it really hard to connect with Copper. I'm assuming he means Cooper. I'll let my way with that.
Maybe he means the guy that had to keep coming to the door.
The postman.
Because it was a Copper that was involved, so.
So found it really hard to connect with Cooper and De Niro in this. Cooper just seemed to be a cunt more than someone with mental health issues and was so unlikable. Never rooted for him at all. J Law was let down by having such an unlikable co-star, but still shone brighter when it was the two of them on the screen. Although in a much more reserved role compared to what we were used to seeing in Rush Hour, I felt Rock still provided some comedy relief when he was on. The ending was a letdown again. Would have been more enjoyable to see the bet not come in and De Niro get his comeuppance his cunty character deserved and lost everything. I don't think he enjoyed it, guys.
Wow.
I do agree with him on one point, though, that the bet, the gambling all coming and being good at the end, that seems to happen quite a lot of films. And
yeah,
I didn't quite sit right with me either. I would have much preferred that.
What was it, the parlay? Is it the parlay that was the term?
That was what I was looking for earlier.
Parlay.
Well, we'll forgive
I
him for
think-
calling Chris Tucker Chris Rock, will we?
Oh fuck! I've just noticed that. Aye, I didn't even click on
Fuck's
that.
sake, man.
That is
I
atrocious.
didn't know who was talking about. I was wondering. what
That's
he
pure
was talking about.
stereotyping, by the way. Pure... Shocking.
Yes, sometimes we do stereotype comedians.
Jesus Christ! Just because one's been in the news recently, he's obviously just thought to. Because did you see the thing with Dave Chappelle as well? And then Chris Rock came on the mic and goes, "Was that Will Smith?" When somebody
Aye.
from Orange speared Dave Chappelle on stage.
Brilliant. That guy got absolutely mauled. Did you see the pictures of him afterwards?
I never seen the
Bizarre.
pictures, but I seen a few videos of it happening, and it didn't look like he was just walked out of the arena.
That
His
was
arm
a
looked like a figure eight.
His arm was folded the wrong way, is the only way I can describe it.
Quite right. Needs to be a message sent out to these cunts. I think you just go up and fucking. Saying that I defended Will Smith, so what am I talking about? But anyway,
Daniel, let's say before we do move on to the scoring, please share the quiz night story.
Okay, I'll tell the quiz night story. So, as you can probably tell, we're all quite competitive with each other, and we like to beat each other at stuff. So we went to. Was it a charity quiz? It was for charity, or was it for
I think it's for the football club, wasn't it?
We went to a quiz, and this was arranged for weeks in advance. So we had 2 teams within our little group. So who was with me actually involved in this?
Me and Karen Dubs. We were.
Aye.
It was because the other 4 they had arranged it, and I was like, I've named it to go with, so I had to get some people that didn't go to the football in.
oh, so it was a pity invite, Burnsies, is that what you're saying?
The folks for the group like Kyle and Daniel.
It was a pity invite.
No,
guys.
I said outside the people that go to the football, because they'd all arranged to go together, and I was like, well, I want to go, but I obviously recruited based on knowledge instead of people that would go to the football.
So we know how competitive everyone is, and we've got lots of group chats, right? Now, we had to spend a lot of time planning this, but what we did was we wanted to let Sean think subtly that we knew the answers, but we didn't want him to know that we knew the answers, so we had an unfair advantage. That's what we wanted to get across.
Your friend Daniel was the quiz master.
Yes. So we are friends with the guy who was doing the quiz. We laid that out as the sort of groundwork for this lie, and we've got a FIFA group chat, which is geeky, but we've got one. And we chose that on purpose because Sean was in it, right? But back then, you never really used to speak much in the FIFA chat, Sean. You weren't as involved as us, whereas now you are a lot more. So we just started openly talking about the cheating that we were going to do, and like how we had the answers, and like how we knew the questions in advance, and all that sort of stuff. Knowing that Sean was there in the background, knowing that you were going straight back to your team, going, "They're fucking cheating." And we kept it. When did we actually tell you? Was it on the night?
I think it was in the Crown, was it?
don't know.
Or did we go to the pub first, and then you told them at that point, maybe? Because I was in your team, but
it
I
was
didn't know
definitely
this.
before.
I was in your. I'm not geeky enough for the FIFA chat, so I think it was maybe you revealed it that night.
Because we were in the Crown before, and it was all we were talking about it in the Crown, so it was definitely before we actually went.
And you started to backtrack a little bit, like you didn't think it was, but you 100% that we were cheats. I loved it.
Oh no, I went running back squealing. I was absolutely squealing for the rooftops and that. And the other chat, because it was me, Neil, Dave, and Marky in the team, and we've got a group chat as well. So I was straight, and I was screenshots and everything, getting myself into some state. But, aye, funny.
What a bunch of horrible bastards. Well, let's get moving on to the scores then.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go first because Kale's having another coughing fit. Easy for me, 5 out of 5.
What? Fucking hell!
5?
I didn't say it. I said I completely loved it. There wasn't a downside to the film. I said the only bit I said was a couple of the bits with the NFL stuff. I didn't understand their meanings. Out with that. It was class.
Fair play.
I'm looking forward to later when Daniel puts this into the draft chat to ask other people what they think you scored it.
I know. Aye, that'll be interesting. So for me, I liked it, but nowhere near to that level. And sorry for the noise in the background. But I'm going to give it a solid 4. I thought it was really enjoyable. Good performances, decent wee story. Now it's just going to slowly come downhill.
I'm going to jump in and give it a 4 also before Sean and Hunter ruin it for everybody.
Oh, lovely.
So I will give Hunter's score first. Hunter scores it a 1.75. And I am going to score it quite a favourable 2.25, I feel. Because I do think, just kind of thinking back about what I said about how 10 years ago the perception of mental health was different. So it's quite a brave film to make at that time, I suppose. So good on them. So they get a wee boost from me. Yeah. Still, I'll never watch it again.
That was a lot higher than I expected for you, Sean, so fair.
It was, overall, that gives us a 3.4, which is probably what I thought it was going to get, even with me knowing I was giving it a 5. I thought somebody was going to completely give it like a 1 or something. So,
like that arsehole Hunter. Call him names like that because he's not here. So that then brings us to the joint 45th alongside Big Hero 6 and Inglorious Bastards.
Pretty company it's in. Big Hero 6, by the way. That's fucking, I still love that. Big Hero 6, under the 8.
I'm still waiting for Wreck-It Ralph 2 to get hit the list, Sean.
One day, guys, one day.
I'm happy.
Guys,
I've just sent that to you, Kyle. Why did I send that to you? Sorry, on text. Try to put that in our group chat. I've just sent it to Kyle. Fucking idiot. Anyway, keep going. It's all right.
Picture these, Bobby. They typically keep them for the group chats.
This one's uncensored as well, guys.
See on that, just before you move on for Bobby's, me and Kyle we're sort of.
Where is this gone, by the way?
I don't know
Tell
what.
me.
The fact that you're talking about Bobby's, and now he's going to say me and Kyle. I don't know where you're going with that.
I should just stop the recording here and just add like a hard cut.
So we Googled us, like we Googled the podcast this week. Have you guys ever Googled us?
No.
So obviously we're on Spotify and Audible or wherever you guys are listening at home, right? But or in the car. Apparently most listens are in the car these days. I was reading that on one of these articles. But we're actually on a few websites with like lists of recommended podcasts for particular topics. One of which is interviews with Jamie Foxx is what it's called. 60 podcasts with Jamie Foxx interviews, right? They've obviously not listened to ours. And about the 6th one down, it's pretty high, is Jamie Foxx's Smashing Big Bobby. The name of the episode. And see when I was just scrolling through and I saw it, I was pissing myself laughing. I was like, what the fuck? We also highly recommended an Old Boy podcast recommendations, which was really interesting. Right? So
that's
and you wanted a Jamie Foxx interview. I apologise.
And I'm going to go out there and say that Old Boy's got less incest in it than Back to the Future.
Wow. You've got one podcast, right, talking about that subject.
It's getting quite uncomfortable now, actually.
Guys, it took me 2 or 3 months to get over Star Wars, so I'll keep dicking away at Back to the Future until something else comes up.
There's incest in Star Wars as well.
Yes, there is. Good point.
What are you even talking about? Your favourite film, brother and sister are shagging. So don't you dare.
Still not as creepy as Back to the Future.
Because actual kissing your sister is less creepy than somebody looking at his mum, a younger version of his mum's chest.
Sean, what we'll do, sidetracking, because these boys won't be aware of this, but we'll add that back to the Would You Rather chats we were having earlier today.
That's disgusting. Move on.
We'll move swiftly on from that. Can somebody share with us the movies that we're going to be watching and reviewing for next week? Because that has The Wrestler finishing on a 4.2 and SLP landing on a 3.4. Quite a productive week for us, guys. Quite an enjoyable one.
Yeah. So the movies for next week, because I'm assuming that you guys will maybe forget. We did, if you remember the wheel last week, we got Burnsies actors. So we put Johnny Depp in it because he's in the news at the moment, and we put him up against everyone's favourite Nicolas Cage for a bit of a laugh. So the winners of the votes are Kick-Ass, which, God, I've got a feeling that's going to get a very wide range of scores. And the other movie is What's Eating Gilbert Grape, which I'm going to reveal just now was definitely one of my favourite movies growing up. My first ever email address was a line from this movie, right? So for next week, when you watch it, I want you to guess what line from this movie was my email address, my first ever email address at like 13-year-old.
We sound fucking pretentious a bit.
No, well, wait and see. But What's Eating Gilbert Grape, which is stars, I think I don't know if it's the first thing he's done, but it's definitely the first major thing that Leonardo DiCaprio did, which I'm very interested in seeing what we think about that.
Happy days, because we had originally spoke about potentially doing Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, but we then realised that Amber Heard's done fuck all worth watching.
We should just sit and review the trial.
Here, I was going to say, by the way, we might put in a little bit of the review of the trial into it next week for something different.
Did you hear her mention Kate Moss? So they can now bring Kate Moss in.
Yeah,
she mentioned her. And the face of her lawyer and Johnny Depp's lawyer was side by side, and Johnny Depp's lawyer's got a big fist pump turned round and big massive smile on his face. It's funny.
It's obviously what's going to happen is that Kate Moss is going to come in and say that story is absolute bullshit. I'm assuming.
Yep.
Fuck it. Guys, time to spin the wheel. Can you guys see the wheel on your side? This is obviously great content for a podcast where you guys can't see the wheel. But the wheel is spinning to get the category.
Did you add sports?
I did.
Shiny boy.
Here we go.
Since she's loved the first two, guys. Oh, it's funny.
Well, Sean,
I'm prepared for that.
I'm going to have a coughing fit, so you tell everybody what came up.
It came up me. So my pick again.
That's Sean. It's been we're getting quite a lot about our own choices. I like this.
I prefer that. Much better.
So I'm looking forward to what you pick, Sean, because last time wasn't all that strong.
I'm not going to pick Back to the Future 3. It'll be two things different, but I'll have a look tonight and hopefully have some in over the next day or so.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Well,
I'm looking forward to that.
Thankfully, you're off the fucking list. Guys, somebody do an outro for me today, please.
Well, if you'd like...
That's all, folks.
That's all. I was just going to say, make sure and find us on Instagram and see wherever you're listening to this. We're getting like maybe 200 to 300 people a month at the moment listening. Could you give us a little rating on either Spotify or Audible or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening, please? A little rating would be nice. But I think we're sitting at a 4.9 out of 29 reviews on Apple. One absolute cunt is giving us a 2 out of fucking 5. So if that's you, fuck you. But
was that Sean?
I was actually saying, I'm actually meant to put a 5. Sorry. My bad.
But apart from that, follow us on Instagram and all that shit. And what is it you like to say, Kyle? We bid you farewell. Hi, coughing like fucking.
He's just going to keep this recorded now just to annoy us all.
Aye, because this is the whole silent in the background. He'll decide when it finishes. We just keep awkwardly talking shite until it's done.
Bye, everyone.
What to do is, let's say, how fucking ugly is Kyle's jumper?
It's actually horrible. It's like Joseph's multicoloured coat.
How many colours has it actually got? 4? 5? 4?
Well, if you include the curry sauce that's all steamed in the front of it as well, there's an extra one there. Right, on the note of that amazing jumper that I'm wearing, I will stop the recording here, guys.
Sorry you don't speak moron as well as you, but let me try.
What the hell is supposed to do, you moron?
It's a moron. That's not against the law.
Gun, you fucking moron.
Dressed up like Batman.
Because he is Batman, you moron.
What are you, a fucking moron? Huh?
You moron. Drop dead. Moron.
Whoa!
Up here, you morons.
Stepping morons like yourself.
Me down, you moron! Hey, moron!
Bid you farewell and good luck, morons. Bye.